hasn't been covered by too many people. But I covered it, and in a different way. I think it's never been covered at this tempi, or tempo, as some people say, my dear friends. Well, welcome. I wonder what you're doing in your cars, at home, wherever you're listening, however you're watching. I hope that you're quite well. I've got some interesting little tidbits. Yesterday I covered the fact that Chris Noth was accused of some nice, nasty things. Yes, Chris Noth, who keeps getting hired over and over again, which is good. I mean, but anyway, he was accused of some not nice things. And I guess the studios cover it all up if it's true. But who knows? You know what's upsetting about that? I don't want to rehash it again because I went through it yesterday. But rape and some other things and abuse. And the interesting thing is, and some girl had to get stitched up and she was hurt. The allegations are older. They're from several years ago, more than several years ago. And the question is about all of this kind of sexual problem is that I think people should do it immediately, and there should be a new law now that they have that if you're going to go back 20, 30 years, 15 years, 10 years, that it doesn't hold, it shouldn't hold. People should learn to immediately act on it. And some people do and some people don't. I mean, I've known of incidences whereby people are, it's a questionable moment, and then people feel victimized in whatever way they might, and especially vulnerable women. And I feel for them, having 6 daughters. So I don't know. Relationships are very foggy sometimes, but abuse or the kind of thing that he has, it should not be. So what I ask you is pray for the victims, and let's see what happens with Chris Noth, if they'll keep him on CBS, the show he's on, and if Dick Wolf keeps hiring him. He's a go-to guy. Mr. Big from Sex and the City. Shame that happened to him. Or at this particular time, and he's saying that basically it's because he's got a new project coming out, which may be. People tend to do that kind of stuff to get some notoriety, or it just sticks in their car. Maybe it's just when they see success over and over again, getting, it could, who knows what it could be? I don't know. It's just not nice. So President Biden, guess what he did? And I met her. Years ago, I was doing a film with Tom Berenger. I think it was North Carolina. I think it was Raleigh. I forget exactly where. But it was funny. This is a funny story. I always had a crush on an ice skater, an Olympic ice skater, Katarina Witt. She was a gorgeous ice skater. And you can look her up. She was from Germany and won gold for many times. And I was doing this film with Tom Berenger. And I was staying at this hotel. And all of a sudden, the escapades were going to happen, the ice-capades. And they were supposed to stay at the same hotel. And I was kind of excited because, Brian Boitano, Michelle Kwan, and Katarina Witt, and Oksana Bayul, all these great skaters were going to be there. And I was going to meet them because I find ice skating, the art form, and an Olympic, look, when you see something beautiful, done exquisitely, it creates an emotion. And I could get there, when somebody does a quadruple Lutz or whatever they call them, I can get emotional. I can tear up at the beauty of what they're doing, and the time it took, and the heartache. And I know what it takes. I know what it takes to be great. Not that I'm great. I'm not talking about myself. I struggle to do whatever we do, but I know that it takes a lot of time, and it's not just something that shakes into you. I had a conversation with Alexander Goodenough, the great ballet dancer, one time, and he was talking about Baryshnikov, the ballet dancer. And he said that with Alexander, before a ballet, Alexander Goodenough, and he was the guy in Die Hard, if you remember, with the long blonde hair. I did a film called Bug Fighters with him in Budapest. And then shortly later, he committed suicide. And it was the first time he'd gone back to Latvia since he defected. And I can remember Alexander sitting there in Budapest on a bench when I walked by him, and he seemed isolated and FaceTime. Phone, I've got to shut it off. You know, during the holiday seasons, you get calls from all over the world. And I get continued calls from people all over the world. I forget to turn off the phone. But anyway, it's good. I like my phone. I like that ring. Maybe I'll answer the phone. Who knows? You never know who's on the other end. Anyway, so getting back to Goodenough, he was depressed, and I felt bad. Not knowing at the time how depressed he really was. And then shortly after that film, back in L.A., he passed. So here we are with the Ice Capades. I digressed. I'm in North Carolina doing a film called An Occasional Hell with Tom Berenger. And the Ice Capade people were going to be at this hotel. And then all of a sudden they said, no, they're not going to show up. They're going to a hotel closer to the venue. And I had a crush on Katharina Witt. I did, and I was a little sad. I said, oh man, how it was meant for me to meet her. Anyway, a couple of days later, I'm coming out of the hotel in the morning to go to the gym. That's when I would go to the gym every day and work out like a beast. And out of the corner of my eyes, I see someone with their rolling cart going toward the elevator as I'm leaving. And I says, no, that can't be. And I went a few more feet, about 10, 15 feet, and then I couldn't help myself, and I turned around and I looked. And at the same time, the person kind of turned around and looked at me. And we smiled at each other. And it was Katharina Witt. It was this Olympic ice skater. She didn't want to stay near the venue. They changed there, and they stayed at the hotel that we were at. Now, I kind of said, oh my God, this is so interesting. So I wrote her a little letter. And I says, hi, interesting, you were supposed to stay at this other hotel, and I know you're here to do a show, and I'm a huge fan of yours, and I would love to meet with you. And, I said, just took a shot. And the next thing I know, she leaves a message for me, I'm a huge fan of yours, I would love to meet with you. And so we wound up having coffee and dinner, and then she invited me to the Ice Capades. I went with her and all the ice skaters in the, transport from that thing, and went backstage and saw how they warm up and do everything. And I then became friends with them, and it was funny. After the show, they came back to the hotel, and I gave a foot massage to Katharina Witt. I had happened to say, and I bring it up because Michelle Kwan was there, and I'll tell you why I bring up Michelle Kwan. So, who was a lovely person, as they all were. Brian Boitano, Oksana Bayo, they were all just wonderful people. And Scott Hamilton was there, another great person. So I had mentioned that, I like toes. They all started to laugh hysterically, and they said, well, Katharina loves a foot massage. And anyway, so, it was just a funny moment. And Michelle Kwan, what, some people don't like foot massages? Is that what happens? You can't talk about a foot massage? What's the big deal? Anyway, so I bring it up because Michelle Kwan was nominated as an ambassador to Belize by President Biden. He announced that Caroline Kennedy would serve as U.S. ambassador to Australia, and Michelle Kwan has been nominated for the position of the ambassador to Belize. And she posted the announcement from her Twitter account, saying, I'm honored to be nominated by President Biden. And she was very proud to serve my country along with an American flag emoji. Now, she won the silver medal at the Nagano Winter Games in 1998 and bronze 4 years later in Salt Lake City. And she served under Biden's presidential campaign in 2019 as director of surrogates and worked on Hillary Clinton's 26th campaign in a similar capacity. So this is all very interesting. And of course, Caroline Kennedy, is 64, and she's endorsed Biden early in the 2020 presidential run. So they got, to the victor goes the spoils, they say. So they got their ambassadorships, and that's what happens. Either funding or influence, and you get an ambassadorship, which is nice. It's a nice feeling, and it's nice on the resume. Davi, back in about 7 or 8. What do we have, a minute break? 4-minute break. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned as we talk about the Queen of England.
I'm Al Simon, 91 years young. I created Balance 7 20 years ago. I don't believe God intended for us to be old and sick. For 10 years, I studied pH and how important it is to the immune system. No doctor or hospital can do what Balance 7 can do for you. Balance 7 is the key to unlocking a healthy immune system. In 3 days' time, you'll feel more energy, less joint discomfort, and clarity of thinking. Bring your body back to balance. Order now and receive free shipping and a free bottle of My Smooth Skin.
Get your body back in pH balance with Balance7.com. Balance 7 unlocks the immune system. Your body will respond in a wondrous way. Your energy level will go up, joint discomfort will be reduced, and heartburn no longer a problem. We have a 100% money-back guarantee. You have everything to gain. If you're sick and you don't want to be, Balance 7 is the answer. If you're healthy and want to stay healthy, Balance 7 is the answer. Go to Balance7.com. That's Balance7.com. Use the code word BALANCE and get free shipping. Balance7.com. That's Balance7.com.
Keep listening for a free offer from U.S. Med. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of sticking your fingers over and over again. By simply wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of sticking your fingers right away. If you're testing your blood sugar daily and administering insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, call today and learn about the latest CGM technology. We'll send you a free ebook telling you all you need to know about CGMs. A CGM can immediately reduce pain. It's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. Your new CGM may be covered by Medicare or private insurance. Call now to learn more. 800-524-9313. 800-524-9313. That's 800-524-9313.
What are you so happy about?
I'm on the pill.
Aren't you two a bit old to worry about having more kids?
Not her, me.
You lost me there, buddy.
Steelman pills. Things weren't always looking up, if you catch my drift. So my doctor prescribed me a little something.
Like Viagra?
Yeah, but that's expensive, and it wasn't covered by my insurance. Steelman pills cost me less than $3 a pill, and virtually the same effect. I just called and got over 40 pills for only $99.
I have this friend who might be looking and...
Well, if your friend wants some help, the consultation is free over the phone. No clinic. Steelman Pill sends it in the mail in a confidential package.
I'm on it. I mean, my friend will be on it.
Steelman Pills, going the extra mile to help men with erectile dysfunction.
800-605-1683. 800-605-1683. 800-605-1683. That's 800-605-1683.
Robert Davi.
I want you to know this is nothing personal. It's purely business.
All right. So, Nick, would you please do the honors as we switch continents and we go over the pond to our cousins on the other side of the Atlantic? Yes, we are now on the other side of the pond, as they say. Thank you so much. Where the Redcoats were coming from. The Redcoats were here on our shores. or their shores. Well, both our shores. The French, too, were here. But now, we're here, or there. And I have to say that Queen Elizabeth has cancelled the pre-Christmas royal family lunch at Windsor Castle due to UK COVID surge. Each year, the Queen hosts a Christmas lunch before she leaves for Sandringham for holidays. And the Queen Elizabeth's traditional Christmas lunch it's called off. Last year's festivities were cancelled due to COVID restrictions. And the Queen's 95 had hoped to host her extended family for an annual pre-Christmas bash next week. But the party has been cancelled as a precautionary measure amid a surge of COVID rates in the UK, so as not to jeopardize Christmas Day plans for those who are going to attend, a source confirms to People, the monarch is said to regret that the decision had to be made, but felt it is the right thing. I want that louder, please. I control it, no one else. The right thing to do. Louder, please. Under the circumstances. COVID rates are rising to record levels. Louder, please. Thank you. Buckingham Palace declined to comment. Now, while the luncheon typically takes place at Buckingham Palace, this year's event was to have taken place at Windsor Castle, where the Queen has been staying amid the ongoing pandemic. And this is the first season of holiday that the Queen will be without her beloved husband, Prince Philip, by her side. Duke of Edinburgh died in April at the age of 99, God bless him. Whatever her private grief is, she wants to get on in as cheerful possible way. A close insider to People magazine of the Queen tells them. The party usually sees Prince William and Kate Middleton and their children mingling with an array of royals, as all of the Queen's children are typically in attendance, along with most of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And the party is an annual affair for the entire family, with dozens of people attending the lunch. So there you have it. There you have it. On Christmas, though, the family walks to church at St. Mary Magdalene's Church on her estate. And then they head back to the Sandringham house for a lunch of Norfolk turkey and other festivities. And this year's planned royal family gathering at Sandringham is the latest sign that Queen is on the mend, following her hospitalization of October 20th. Queen. You have it. But, in other news, will Prince Albert... that's the wrong. We're still in England. Find something else English. We're going to talk about Princey Albert. That's a British one? Oh, how interesting. We've adopted all their songs. Da-da-ba-da-da-da-bum-bum, bum-bum, ba-da-da-da-bum-bum. Well, Prince Prince Andrew, will he ever return to royal duty? Prince Charles is committed to slim down monarchy, and Prince William is said to be skeptical about his uncle's chances to rejoin public duty. When Andrew, 61, stepped back from public duties in November 2019, in the wake of his disastrous interview with the BBC about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, he thought it would be temporary, but what followed was very dramatic. So anyway, there we have about Prince Andrew. He's going to be on the outs for a bit. And then we have all of this nice stuff here. So we've covered a few little things now. Now, I've been to Windsor Castle. Yes. You know, I filmed in London quite a few times at Pinewood and at the other studio. I forget what the other studio is called. There's another studio, film studio there. I've also filmed at Pinewood Studios and another one. Starts with an S, I believe. But I was in England and I took a tour of the Windsor Castle. And when I went there, I said to myself, I would love to live here. I feel home. I feel at home here at Windsor Castle. These grandiose ideas. I probably was on prednisone at the time. Who knows, a steroid. Gave me grandiose ideas of being a royal. And then it did turn out, though, when I went to Sicily, that my family was both French. The Davi family comes from, there is an accent over the I, Davi, D-A-V-I, accent over the I, and that when the French occupied Sicily, that supposedly King Charles, one of the important King Charleses, was our family was involved with, supposedly. That's what's said. That's what the rumor is. How much time do we have left to this segment? 2 minutes and 30. All right. The reason why is because when we come back, I am going to read. I want to share with you something from a Welshman, one of the greatest English or Welsh poets of all time. His name is Dylan Thomas. I don't know if you know the name, but Dylan Thomas has written some wonderful poetry. He was born in October, died in November. Of course, years apart, but he is one of the greatest poets, and he used to come to America quite often. He died in New York after downing several drinks in succession. And he died at St. Vincent's Catholic Medical Center. And he had the drinks. I've been to the bar where he went and had some of those drinks, actually. It's still in New York, and a friend of mine has it. It's the White Horse. I think it's called the White Horse. And White Horse Tavern. And I want to read something of Dylan Thomas's when we get back. So stay tuned, because it's one of the most beautiful things. Yeah, the White Horse Tavern, he drank until 4 a.m. 18 whiskeys. 18 whiskeys, and died the same day at the White Horse Tavern, which I've been to, and you should go to if you get to New York. It's one of the oldest bars. So I'm going to do tribute to Dylan Thomas by reading his Child's Christmas at Wales when we come back. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Fred Dwyer talking about my favorite Italian restaurant, Angelo's and Vinci's, at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in downtown Fullerton. It's a fantastic place to celebrate the holidays. Come inside and dine in our Italian town square, complete with our 10-foot Christmas tree. Enjoy our food made from secret family recipes, pasta, chicken, seafood, salads, and our incredible pizza, and our incredible desserts, including my favorite, the tiramisu, flown in from Italy. Angelo's and Vinci's is the perfect spot for your holiday dinner or party. Get your shopping done for everyone by purchasing holiday gift certificates. Feel the spirit at Angelo's and Vinci's, 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton. Call 714-879-4022 or visit angelosandvincis.com.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Have you heard about Vine to Bar chocolate? It's the winemaker's chocolate, the world's first chocolate made with well-vined Chardonnay marc from the beautiful coastal vineyards of North America. Gently pressed grapes are harvested after juicing, dried and finely milled and carefully blended into the finest dark chocolate. The Chardonnay marc contains highly beneficial grape nutrients, flavonols, and has a natural sweetness that flavors the luscious dark chocolate. Mouth-watering, flavorful, delectable dark chocolate goodness with Chardonnay sweetness and beneficial nutrients. And it's alcohol-free, too. It's Vine to Bar chocolate. Order some today at vinetobar.com. That's VINETOBAR.com. Cold shipped to your door, it's Vine to Bar. Vine to Bar chocolate. Visit us at vinetobar.com.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
The Robert Davi Show.
This is authentic.
Una furtiva lagrima negli occhi.
So, my dear friends, my sweet friends, I want to read for you today, and we need to put on some soft piano music, Nick. If you can, find something by Eric Satie. Eric Satie. S-A-T-I-E. Eric Satie. Find something by him. I think he has something called Pictures at an Exhibition by Eric Satie. Is that there? Let's find it. Because I'd like to have that embedded here for this little piece I want to present to you all. Okay. Let's put on something. Let me hear it. It takes a second to come on. The audience understands that. This is now putting on some nice, beautiful music to bed this underneath. Now stay with it because you might have to repeat it if it's not long enough. Okay, so this is A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan Thomas. One Christmas was so much like another in those years around the Seatown corner now. And out of all sound, except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. All the Christmases rolled toward the two-tongued sea like a cold and headlong moon, bundling down the sky that was our street. And they stopped at the rim of the ice-edged fish-freezing waves. And I plunge my hands in the snow and bring out whatever I can find. In goes my hand into that wool-white bell-tongued ball of holidays, resting at the rim of the carol-singing sea, and out come Mrs. Prothero and the Firemen. It was on the afternoon of the Christmas Eve, and I was in Mrs. Prothero's garden waiting for cats with her son, Jim. It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas. December in my memory is white as Lapland, though there were no reindeers. But there were cats, patient, cold, and callous. Our hands wrapped in socks, we waited to snowball the cats, sleek and long as jaguars and horrible whiskered. Spitting and snarling, they would slink and sidle over the white back garden walls. And the lynx-eyed hunters, Jim and I, fur-capped and moccasined trappers from Hudson Bay off Mumbles Road, would hurl our deadly snowballs at the green of their eyes. The wise cats never appeared. We were so still. Eskimo-footed Arctic marksmen in the muffling silence of the eternal snows. Eternal ever since Wednesday. That we never heard Mrs. Prothero's first cry from her igloo at the bottom of the garden. Or if we heard it at all, it was to us like the far-off challenge of our enemy and prey, the neighbor's polar cat. But soon the voice grew louder. "Fire!" cried Mrs. Prothero, and she beat the dinner gong. As we ran down the garden, with the snowballs in our arms toward the house, and smoke indeed was pouring out of the dining room, and the gong was bombulating, and Mrs. Prothero was announcing like a town crier in Pompeii, this was better than all the cats in Wales standing on the wall in a row. We bounded into the house laden with snowballs and stopped at the open door of the smoke-filled room. Something was burning, all right. Perhaps it was Mr. Prothero, who always slept there after midday dinner with a newspaper over his face. But he was standing in the middle of the room saying a fine Christmas and smacking at the smoke with a slipper. "Call the fire brigade," cried Mrs. Prothero as she beat the gong. "There won't be there," said Mr. Prothero. "It's Christmas." There was no fire to be seen, only clouds of smoke, and Mr. Prothero standing in the middle of them, waving his slipper as though he were conducting. "Do something," he said, and we threw all our snowballs into the smoke. I think we missed Mr. Prothero and ran out of the house to the telephone box. "Let's call the police as well," Jim said, "and the ambulance, and Ernie Jenkins, he likes fires." But we only called the fire brigade. And soon the fire engine came, and 3 tall men in helmets brought a hose into the house, and Mr. Prothero got out just in time before they turned it on. Nobody could have had a noisier Christmas Eve. And when the firemen turned off the hose and were standing in the wet, smoky room, Jim's aunt, Miss Prothero, came downstairs and peered in at them. Jim and I waited very quietly to hear what she would say to them. She said the right thing always. She looked at the 3 tall firemen in their shining helmets, standing among the smoke and cinders and dissolving snowballs, and she said, "Would you like anything to read?" Years and years ago, when I was a boy, when there were wolves in Wales, and birds the color of red flannel petticoats which passed the harp-shaped hills. When we sang and wallowed all night and day in caves that smelt like Sunday afternoons, in deep front farmhouse parlors, and we chased, with the jawbones of dragons, the English and the bears, before the polar bear, before the motor car, before the wheel, before the Duchess face horse, when we rode the daft and happy hills bareback, it snowed, and it snowed. But here, a small boy says, "It snowed last year, too. I made a snowman, and my brother knocked it down, and I knocked my brother down, and then we had tea." But that was not the same snow, I say. Our snow was not only shaken down from whitewashed buckets down the sky, it came shallowing out of the ground, and swam and drifted out of the arms and hands and bodies of the trees. Snow grew overnight on the roofs of the houses like a pure and grandfather moss, minutely ivied the walls and settled on the postman, opening the gate like a dumb, numb thunderstorm of white, torn Christmas cards. Were there postmen then, too? With sprinkling eyes and wind-cherried noses on spread, frozen feet they crunched up to the doors and mittened on them manfully. But all that the children could hear was a ringing of bells. Well, you mean that the postman went rat-a-tat-tat and the doors rang? I mean that the bells the children could hear were inside them. Oh, I only hear thunder sometimes, never bells. Well, were church bells, too. Inside them? No, in the bat-black, snow-white belfries, tugged by bishops and storks, and they rang their tidings over the bandaged town, over the frozen foam of the powder and ice cream hills, over the crackling sea. It seemed that all the churches boomed for joy under my window, and the weathercocks crew for Christmas on our fence. Get back to the postmen. They were just ordinary postmen, fond of walking and dogs and Christmas and the snow. They knocked on the doors with blue knuckles. Ours has got a black knocker. And then they stood on the white welcome mat in the little drifted porches and huffed and puffed, making ghosts with their breaths, and jogged from foot to foot like small boys wanting to go out. And then the presents. And then the presents after the Christmas box, and the cold postman with a rose on his button nose tingled down the tea tray slithered run of the chilly glinting hill. He went in his ice-bound boots like a man on fishmonger's size. He wagged his bag like a frozen camel's hump, dizzily turned the corner on his foot, and by God, he was gone. When we come back, the rest of Dylan Thomas's Christmas in Wales.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet, so make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
For the getaway of your dreams, come to Hawaii's Playground, Ka'anapali Beach Resort, on the fun side of Maui. Maui, where the world comes to play. Find your spot on Kaanapali Beach with 3 miles of white sand, 12 resort properties, 2 golf courses, and 2 shopping centers. Enjoy the playground of Hawaii's ancient royalty. Kaanapali Beach Resort is Hawaii's original master plan destination resort and home of the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. With views of 2 neighboring islands, you can breathe in the land's natural beauty from your favorite resort or golf fairway. Come experience Kaanapali's own special brand of Hawaiian hospitality with world-class dining, relaxing resorts, water sports, and activities of every kind. For romantic, family, and great friend getaways, discover the options of Kaanapali Beach Resort, where the world comes to play. Plan your getaway today. Visit KaanapaliResort.com. That's KAANAPALI Resort.com.
The Robert Davi Show.
Mike? You let me down, Mike. You're making me look bad. I thought we had an understanding. And all I expect is a little cooperation!
Sorry, Robert.
So here I'm going back to A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan Thomas. I'll back up just a little bit to give you some start. You've been listening to me do a read of this wonderful piece of art by one of our major poets, Dylan Thomas. So I'm going to back up a bit when the music begins. And then the presents. And then the presents. After the Christmas box. And the cold postman with a rose on his button nose jingled down the tea-tray slithered run of the chilly glinting hill. He went in his ice-bound boots like a man on fishmonger's slabs. He wagged his bag like a frozen camel's hump, dizzily turned the corner on one foot, and by God, he was gone. Get back to the presents. Okay, they were useful presents. Engulfing mufflers of the old coach days, and mittens made for giant sloths. Zebra scarfs of a substance like silky gum that could be tug-of-warred down to the galoshes, binding tam o'shanters like patchwork tea cozies, and bunny-stuffed suited busbies and balaclavas for victims of head-shrinking tribes. From ants who always wore wool next to their skin, and there were mustached and rasping vests that made you wonder why the ants had any skin left at all. And once I had a little crocheted nose bag from an ant now, alas, no longer whinnying with us, and pictureless books in which small boys, though warned with quotations not to, would skate on Farmer Giles' pond and did, and drowned. And books that told me everything about the wasp. Except why. Go on to the useless presents. The bags of moist and many-colored jelly babies, a folded flag with a false nose and a tram conductor's cap, and a machine that punched tickets and rang a bell, never a catapult. Once, by mistake, that no one could explain, a little hatchet, and a celluloid duck that made, when you pressed it, a most unduck-like sound, a mewing moo that an ambitious cat might make who wished to be a cow, and a painting book in which I could make the grass, the trees, the sea, and the animals any color I pleased. And still, the dazzling sky-blue sheep are grazing in the red field under the rainbow-billed and pea-green birds. Hard boils, toffee, fudge, and all sorts. Crunches, cracknels, humbugs, glaciers, marzipan, and butter welch for the Welsh. And troops of bright tin soldiers who, if they could not fight, could always run. And snakes and families and happy ladders and easy hobby games for little engineers, complete with instructions. Oh, easy for Leonardo. And a whistle to make the dogs bark to wake up the old man next door, to make him beat on the wall with his stick to shake our picture off the wall. And a packet of cigarettes. You put one in your mouth, and you stood at the corner of the street, and you waited for hours, in vain, for an old lady to scold you for smoking a cigarette. And then with a smirk, you ate it. And then it was breakfast, under the balloons. Were there uncles like in our house? There were always uncles at Christmas, the same uncles. And on Christmas morning, with dog-disturbing whistle and sugar fags, I would scour the swatched town for news of the little world, and find always a dead bird by the post office, or by the white deserted swings, perhaps a robin, all but one of his fires out. Men and women wading or scooping back from chapel and taproom noises and wind-bust cheeks, all albinos huddled, their still black jarring leathers against the irreligious snow. Mistletoe hung from the gas backets in the front parlors. There was sherry and walnuts and bottled beer and crackers by the dessert spoons. And cats, and their furabouts, watched the fires. And the high-heaped fire spat, all ready for the chestnuts and the muling pokers. Some few large men sat in the front parlors without their collars. Uncles, almost certainly, trying their new cigars, holding them out judiciously at arm's length, returning them to their mouths, coughing, and then holding them out again as though waiting for the explosion. And some few small aunts, not wanted in the kitchen, nor anywhere else for that matter, sat on the very edge of their chairs, poised with brittle, afraid to break like faded cups and saucers. Not many those mornings trod the piling streets. An old man always, fawn-bowlered, yellow-gloved, and at this time of year with spats of snow, would take his constitutional to the white Bowling Green and back, as he would take it wet, or fire on Christmas Day, or Doomsday. Sometimes two hale young men, with big pipes blazing, no overcoats and wind-blown scarves, would trudge, unspeaking, down the forlorn sea to work up an appetite, to blow away the fumes, who knows, to walk into the waves until nothing of them was left but the two furling smoke clouds of their inextinguishable briars. Then I would be slapdancing home. The gravy smell of the dinners of others, the bird smell, the brandy, the pudding and mince coiling up to my nostrils, when out of a snow-clogged side lane would come a boy, the spit of myself, with a pink-tipped cigarette and the violet past of a black eye, cocky as a bullfinch, jeering, leering, all to himself. I hated him on sight and sound, and would be about to put my dog whistle to my lips and blow him off the face of Christmas, when suddenly he, with a violet wink, put his whistle to his lips and blew so stridently, so high, so exquisitely loud, that gobbing faces, their cheeks budged with goose, would press against their tinseled windows the whole length of the white echoing street. For dinner we had turkey and blazing pudding. And after dinner the uncle sat in front of the fire, loosened all buttons, put their large moist hands over their watch chains, groaned a little, and slept. Mothers, aunts, sisters scuttled to and fro, bearing tureens. Auntie Bessie, who already been frightened twice by a clockwork mouse, whimpered at the sideboard and had some elderberry wine. The dog was sick. Auntie Dosey had to have 3 aspirins, but Auntie Hannah, who liked port, stood in the middle of the snowbound backyard singing like a big-bosomed thrush. I would blow up balloons to see how big they would blow up to, and when they burst, which they all did, the uncles jumped and rumbled. In the rich and heavy afternoon, the uncles breathing like dolphins and the snow descending, I would sit among festoons and Chinese lanterns and nibble dates and try to make a model man-o'-war, following the instructions for little engineers, and produce what might be mistaken for a sea-going tram. Or I would put out my bright new boots squeaking into the white world onto the seaward hill to call on Jim and Dan and Jack and to pad through the still streets, leaving huge footprints in the hidden pavements. I bet people will think there's been hippos. What would you do if you saw a hippo coming down our street? I'd go like this, bang! I'd throw him over the railings and roll him down the hill, and then I'd tickle him under the ear, and then he'd wag his tail. What would you do if you saw 2 hippos? Iron-flanked and bellowing, hippos clanked and battered through the scuddling snow toward us as we passed Mr. Daniel's house. Let's post Mr. Daniel a snowball through his letterbox. Let's write things in the snow. Let's write, Mr. Daniel looks like a fast spaniel all over his lawn. Or we walked on the white shore. Can the fishes see it's snowing? The silent one-clouded heavens drifted onto the sea. Now we were snow-blind travelers lost on the North Hills. Vast dewlap dogs with flasks around them, necks ambled and shambled to us, baying Excelsior. We returned home through the pool streets, where only a few children fumbled their red fingers in the wheel-rutted snow and called after us. Always on Christmas, right there, night was music. An uncle played the fiddle, a cousin sang Cherry Ripe, and another uncle sang Drake's drum. It was very warm in the little house. Auntie Hannah, who had got to the parsnip wine, sang a song about bleeding hearts and death, and then another in which she said her heart was like a bird's nest. And then everybody laughed again, and then I went to bed, locking through my bedroom window out into the moonlight and the unending smoke-colored snow. I could see the lights in the windows of the other houses on our hill and hear the music rising from them up the long, steady falling night. I turned the gas down. I got into bed. I said some words to close in holy darkness, and then I slept. That's a little bit of a truncated version of A Child's Christmas in Wales, but it is a universal Christmas in Wales. It's a Christmas that we've forgotten in America. I hope you think about it this holiday season. God bless you.
I'm Al Simon, 91 years young. I created Balance 7 20 years ago.